I want to share with you something powerful. Do you know what, right? As believers, or as a believer, we think that because we are saved, we think that we are spiritual by default. That because we follow Christ, or because we gave our life to Christ, that we are spiritual by default, or we are spiritual automatically. Well, I'm gonna let you into a secret. Just because you gave your life to Christ doesn't mean you're spiritual. There's a lot of people who've given their life to Christ and they are far from spiritual. Just because you gave your life to Christ does not make you spiritual by default. See, what we need to understand is that being spiritual is going to take work. Yeah, frightening, right? Yes. Being spiritual is going to take work, because you could be saved for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you could be saved for 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30 years, and still not be spiritual and still be moving in carnality. Shocking, right? But it's the truth. There's some of you out there today that you've been saved for 5 years and you're still carnal. You have not even grown in the things of God. This brings me back to what I said earlier. We have to work at our spirituality. We have to put in the work, meaning that when we give our life to Christ and Christ is moving, we have to move with him. How do you move with Christ? Or how do you follow Christ? Because people say, you know, I'm a follower of Christ. Well, what does that even mean? See, Jesus said, he goes out, you call yourself one of my followers, but you don't do what I say. You call yourself one of my sheep, but you don't do what I say. Now, here's the thing. How can you do what Jesus says if you don't even know what he's saying? How can you do what Jesus says if you don't even know what he's saying? To know what God is saying, to know what Christ is saying, to be a follower of Christ, to know his word, you have to read his word. To know the words of God, you have to read the word of God. And when you begin to read the word of God and you know the word of God, now you could become a follower of God or a follower of Christ, because you know what he's speaking about and you know what direction he's walking in. How can you be a follower of Christ but you don't know what he says? How can you be a follower of Christ and you don't do what he says? So like I said, we are not spiritual by default. Being spiritual is going to take work. Being spiritual and staying spiritual is going to take effort, it's going to take consistency, and we're going to have to start moving and doing the things that are right. It's quite powerful what I'm sharing with you. You see, in the book of, I think it's Hebrews chapter 5 at the end, it says that some of you should have been teachers by now, but you're in need of milk again, and we have to teach you the basic principles, saying that you shouldn't be on milk, you should be a teacher by now. Some of you are still fighting with your carnality. Some of you are still fighting with the basic principles. Some of you are still struggling to walk with God. You've been saved for 15 years. You should be a teacher by now. You should be teaching the word of God. Some of you have been saved for 5 years. You should be in ministry by now. You should be doing the things of God. You should be doing the work of the kingdom. But you're not. You're on this merry-go-round going round and round and round and round, and you're always back at square one. This is why I'm saying to you, being spiritual is going to take work. You're going to have to dig in and do what you're supposed to be doing as a believer, which means being deep in the things of God, being in the presence of God, living a holy life, living a spiritually disciplined life. Because if you don't, all that's going to happen is you're going to fight with the carnal mind, the natural mind, and after 6, 7 years of being a believer, you're not moving, you're not growing, you're not progressing. You're always hitting the same spots and you can't go beyond it. You're always going around the same piece of track over and over and over again. You have to put in the work. You have to get deeper. You have to. See, Satan is all about non-growth. Satan is all about stagnant. Satan is all about rotting, okay? He wants you to rot. He wants you to be stagnant, because he knows that if you don't read the word, there's no life in you and you're not going to be able to grow. Your Christ is going to be miles away in that direction and you're so far behind and you don't know what's going on and you're in darkness. The devil doesn't mind. The devil loves that sort of stuff. But you need to fool the devil today and turn that mentality around and start getting into the word of God, start getting disciplined and start understanding that just because you gave your life to Christ doesn't mean you're spiritual, okay? Because a lot of people out there giving their life to Christ and they are carnal. So make sure you're not one of them. Make sure that you are a spiritual believer, one who knows the voice of God, can hear the voice of God, or you are building your way up to that level. You can't stay a baby Christian for the whole of your life. You have to progress from the milk to the meat and then to the strong meat, it is imperative that you do that and that it happens for you. Anyway guys, I shall see you guys on the next video. Have a great day.